Okay, so we got the intake tube out. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the turbo. No, I'm not. Hey guys, it's Adam here with SVT Design and Fab. Today we're going to be installing our 4-inch intake on this Fiesta ST behind us. And this intake is a full 4 inches to the filter, and then the crossover to the turbo is going to be 3.5 inches, which is larger than anything on the market right now. And I'm really excited to see how this sounds, how it performs. I have some data logs of our current 3.5 inch intake, and I'm hoping to be able to compare to that, see how much less of a restriction this thing is, and let's take a look here. This thing is pretty beefy for a 1.6 liter. 3.5 inch intake was already pretty large, but this thing is absolutely massive when compared to that. This intake has been on the car for about 40,000 miles now. This was a prototype, so obviously had the goofball weird blue on there. This thing went over to the crossover, down to the turbo. So we're going to need to take out the intake tube, undo the sensor, pop off this hard line. I'm going to replace it with a soft line that goes down here. So instead of traveling all the way up and over here, we're going to clean up the engine bay a little bit and just go underneath here and really hide these bungs so they're out of sight. We're going to pop that boot off, pop off our crossover. You can see I already broke this once. Try not to break it again. And go down to our Ariashi turbo, have a lot better flow in this thing, and hopefully see less restriction. First step, I'm going to disconnect my MAF sensor. Fun fact, MAF sensor on these cars, it doesn't even read mass airflow. All it reads is the intake temperature. So a lot of guys say you need to clean your MAF. Well, that may be true for some cars, but not for this one. This guy's just checking air temperature. Here's our evap bung right here. Gonna twist that off, leave it down here. I'm also going to pinch and pull on this fitting to disconnect it. Twist him out of the way. Grab a screwdriver for that clamp and should be able to pull this whole thing off and transfer our mass airflow sensor over. Go ahead and take off the tube off our crossover. Now you can see here the size difference is just pretty insane when comparing the two intakes here. Go ahead and grab my T20 Torx, undo the Torx screws. You are going to need to keep your stock screws to be able to put it in the other tube. Now on this MAF sensor, flow only goes one way. So you want this open end pointing towards the air filter side because flow is coming in the sensor. And it's just measuring temperature, like I said, but that's still important. Okay, so we got the old intake tube out. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the crossover off and pull that boot off my turbo so I can put the new boot on. You will use the boot that we provide for your turbo, and when you go on the website to order, you're going to need to select which turbo you have because the turbo inlet sizes are different. So S280 guys are gonna have a different size than the 2860 guys, and then 6051 are gonna have a different size than those still. So make sure you tell me which turbo you have so I can pick the right boot for you. Okay, crossover is out. You can see our turbo down there. I just need to take this boot off our turbo to be able to properly clock it and size it for the new one, because this is actually just a 3-inch boot and we have a 3.5 inch crossover. So we're going to use a 3 to 3.5 inch boot on this turbo. We have our tube going onto our turbo. So next we're going to install the crossover pipe, upper portion. This guy has a little collar here with a bolt to tighten down. So you're going to want to remove the grommet piece that goes onto here. And then we're going to take that, slide it over, and then it just clicks on. We're going to tighten this down so it pinches. And those two will stay together. Give it some support so it doesn't rattle around. Do some disassembly. That screw comes out. This mechanism slides off. The bottom side has a heat set insert in it. Top side just has the bolt through. We'll clip it onto there once our pipe's in place. I'm gonna go ahead and put my 3.5-inch straight boot at the connection, line up my pipes, and tighten down the clamp. We're going to grab this tube right here. The transition pipe is in. You want to tighten these T-bolt clamps just enough to keep it sealed, but not too tight to where you're going to stress or crack that plastic. It's not under boost at all. It's just got a hold. So as you can see, this is about the biggest tube you can fit in this region. I mean, pretty close, but it fits. The last piece of the puzzle here is our 4-inch intake pipe. So fun fact about this intake, these are just NPT ports. So if you're not using the evap or you're not using the PCV, you can just block those off. Just take a wrench, take them out, and block them right off. Okay, I got that PCV tucked through here. Gonna make sure we have our evap coming from our evap harness. I'm gonna grab my 4-inch straight coupler, put it on this pipe, put the filter on the tube, and assemble the last piece. I highly recommend putting the filter on the tube before you put it on the car. Just makes it a lot easier to get everything in there. It's super hard to get the filter on when it's pointing down, so we're also gonna pre-assemble that. Okay, final piece of the puzzle is gonna go in. Everything is now assembled. We have our filter, 4-inch intake section, 4-inch to 3.5 introducer, crossover pipe, bracketry, everything going to the turbo. We have our evap connected, PCV connected at the valve cover and the tube. I think we're ready to go make some turbo sounds. Even cruising the spool on this thing is nice sound. That nice flutter sound from the blow-up valve. Sounds nice, deep, throaty, a lot throatier than the 3.5 inch, which I'm surprised by. Probably that filter area is what makes it so throaty. Alright, so we just went for a drive. Things sounded a lot throatier, deeper tone when you're spooling up for sure. When you let off and that blow-up valve hits, it's a lot more of a whoosh sound than a high-pitched sound, which I like a lot too. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'm trying to get a little better at YouTube. I got a mic finally and some nice lighting, as you can see up there. So a little bit by bit, I'll get better at this, and hopefully you guys enjoy. If you have any suggestions for videos or comments about the video, be sure to let me know, and hope you enjoy.